In any of your paragraph writing assignments, you'll be given a copy or a copy of this particular rubric will be posted. You've got the different segments that you need to make sure you include in your paragraph, and I'll talk about what each of those is now. So the first segment in the content-based area is the topic, sentence, or claim, which should be the beginning of any paragraph that you write. You'll be scored on a 3, 2, or 1. 3 is a meets or exceeds standard, and that tells us that your topic sentence is interesting, it's original, it has a creative idea in it, or a creative way to present the idea that you're going to be talking about in that paragraph. A 2 is just a kind of a plain and simple, clearly stated topic sentence that matches with the main idea, one main idea about the paragraph. And then a 1, which is below standard, is just a general sentence that presents an idea, but it might not be focused enough to build upon, or it might not necessarily be addressing the topic that you've chosen to write about. The next section of your paragraph are those supporting sentences, and this is really the meat of your paragraph. This is where all your evidence and your examples and your commentary will come in. So as you can see, it's broken up into 3 different types of supporting sentences that will be included in your paragraph. The first type is source-based evidence. The second type is personal evidence. So you can have 2 different kinds of evidence in your paragraph. You can have one or the other, or you can have both. So you see how on this particular rubric it says amount required. Your teacher will provide you with the amount of evidence they want you to incorporate into your paragraph, and whether they want that evidence to be source-based, which means it's from the reading or the article or your textbook, or if they want it to be personal evidence, which is going to be more personal, where you maybe something, an experience that happened to you, a story, or, maybe someone and something that happened to them. So let's look at that evidence. You want to make sure that you have, to get a 3, to get the meets or exceeds standard, you want to have a multitude of sources to provide that information, that evidence to support your main idea. So if you can pull from different parts of the story, or you can pull from different parts of your life to apply it to the topic that you're talking about for your paragraph. A 2, which is at or near standard, is that the evidence supports your topic, but you might not use enough of it. And then finally, the 1 is that there's minimal evidence, and it may not necessarily be related to the topic that you're writing about. Now, the commentary and analysis is a really important component that so many students forget to incorporate into their paragraph. And with that commentary and analysis, what it is it's supporting the evidence that you've chosen to discuss. It's giving more information about that. It's trying to make connections between the evidence and the main idea that you're talking about in your paragraph. So a 3, in order to get a 3, you want it to be sophisticated and original. And what that means is you don't just want to maybe say something that's very obvious. You want to go deeper with how that commentary relates to, with how that evidence relates to the main idea that you're talking about. You want to draw connections maybe between multiple pieces of evidence and what you're talking about in that paragraph. A 2 for commentary and analysis says that it develops and analyzes the evidence but lacks depth. So that key really the difference between that 3 and that 2 is the depth. How deep are you going with the commentary and analysis? Is what you're saying super obvious, or is it something that maybe shows that you've read a little more into it? And finally, a 1 shows us that there's little analysis of the evidence. Either you're not giving that commentary and analysis, or maybe it just doesn't even seem to relate. The final piece of the content section that's going to be graded is the conclusion of your paragraph. Now, the conclusion is, to me, an essential part of the paragraph. To get a 3, it needs to be an interesting and original concluding sentence. Now, if you go back to elementary school, I can remember a time when teachers were saying, just restate the main idea or the topic sentence in different words. And that's so boring. You really want to do something interesting and show that you can kind of take all these connections you've made in your paragraph and show what you have learned from it, or how you can apply it to life. The two is that the concluding sentence summarizes that paragraph, but there's no reflection in it. It's just very kind of straightforward and doesn't really give any insight to what this means for maybe further reflection, or how it applies to life. And finally, that one would be just a general restatement of the topic sentence. So that kind of goes back to what we said about elementary school when they were saying just restate the topic sentence with some synonyms or something like that. There's no originality in there, and we really want you guys to show that you're deep thinkers and that you're making these important connections. The final section that we're looking for is the clarity of your paragraph. How well are you portraying the ideas that you're trying to get across in your paragraph? So we're looking at 3 different sections here. We're looking at the focus and cohesion, which basically means, do you stay focused on that one topic or do you stray away from it? The organization and structure, so do the ideas build appropriately upon one another? Are you incorporating transitions that help to show the connections that you're trying to make? And finally, grammar and spelling, which is pretty obvious, but we don't really want you to have any spelling mistakes and errors in there when you're turning it in this final draft of whatever paragraph you're writing. And grammar, we want you to show that you know the proper way to format your sentences, that you're using the correct verb, tense, and things of that nature. So with focus and cohesion, do you stay on topic or are you straying away? That's going to be the difference between a 3 and a 1. If you stay mostly on topic, you're going to maybe you stray just a little bit, then you might earn that too. The organization and structure, that is the difference between a 3 and a 1 is going to be those transitions really that you're including. Are they appropriate transitions? Is your sentence structured very, or are you using a bunch of simple short sentences, or do you have some longer complex sentences mixed in with some shorter, more straightforward sentences? And then the difference in the categories for spelling and grammar are no spelling and grammar errors, some spelling and grammar errors, and several spelling and grammar errors. So many times when there's a lot of spelling and grammar errors, it takes away from the reading and the message that that you're trying to portray. So you really want to be careful with that and make sure that you're putting your best effort forward and you're showing your teacher that you have put some time and consistent thought into the final draft of whatever you're turning in. So that's the paragraph rubric for you. Like I said, this is going to be used across campus if you're doing a paragraph response, and this is something that you can probably ask any teacher about. I will be posting this within the assignments in which it will be used to grade, but I will also be putting it in announcements, so it's there for you to refer back to anytime you need it, so that you know how you'll be graded on any given writing prompt assignment that is being responded to with a paragraph. If you have any questions, please be sure you come and see me.